Hi everyone, welcome back to another Mental Health Mini. Today I'm joined by Ambassador of the Offside Trust, which we'll learn more about in a moment, Alan Arber. Hi Alan.
Hi David, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, good days and bad days, but we just have to move forward.
Well, that's what these videos are about, and hopefully you can talk a bit more about that. And because I'm sure many people watching this will think the same, good days and bad days. So Alan's very kindly agreed to do this for us. For those that follow Alan, he's very vocal about his issues and his past, but we'll hopefully learn more about that on here. So as I always say, and I think it's become a bit of a cliche now, let's jump in. So Alan, first question I always ask is, tell us about your experiences with mental health, both past and now.
I think mainly the biggest problem I've had has been the fact is I had no one to talk to. I disclose my mental health issues, or I disclose my abuse around 2022. I disclosed my abuse around I disclosed my abuse around 2017. I'd been some people don't know I'd been abused between the ages of 7 and 12. So for many years, I'd say, I hid a massive secret that I'd never really thought would ever come out. So that's the sort of, and then obviously something happened that made my secret came out, basically. So I had to find a way to deal with it. I'll be honest, the first way I found was not the best way. The second way was not the best way. But the third way was to get in touch with the Offside Trust through, obviously, my big buddy, Barry Howard. He'd seen the Victoria Derbyshire show where Steve, Chris, Billy, and I think it was Jason had spoken around their abuse. And he urged me to get in touch with them, which I did. They were great, fantastic. They helped me a lot. And there's obviously been some people, lots of friends within the trust since. So I presume that would be the best way. The other two ways are drinking heavily, very, very heavily. I then became someone that would drink in the pub from lunchtime till evening. And then the other way was obviously try to commit suicide.
As people that have watched this, the part two of that is something unfortunately I've been through, and sometimes you reach a point for whatever reason, and this goes to part one as well, and other people will have spoken about that before in the past. You do reach a point where you don't feel like there's any other way out. Like you don't feel like there's any other good way, which is wrong, but that's where we get to at times.
For me, it was just that I'd gone from being happy-go-lucky, played football at an exceptionally high level, as a lot of people know, in East Anglia. You know, was lucky enough to represent my country twice, non-league level, and again at veterans level at the end. But when this happened, as Barry says quite a lot, it's just, what's the word he used? It's like an explosion goes off in your brain, and your brain doesn't want to compute the best way possible. Basically, it looks at the easiest way that it doesn't have to do a lot of work. That's my feelings, but you know, I could be wrong. But when I called Barry to tell him what I was going to do, he sort of talked me out of it a little bit. I pretty much lost everything: my house, my car, my wife, the whole lot. So I was a total mess. And he got me to see someone, my GP, and My GP was big on mental health, massive. And that was a Monday morning. And I think by the Thursday, I was in Helston Hospital. So I'd had a lot of help that way. So.
And I think it's good that, and I've spoken about this on a couple of previous videos, I think it's important that when you do finally speak to someone, that person listens and acts, and the action will be dependent on the person. And I'm not saying that it has to be worst case scenarios and stuff, but the fact is someone is there listening to you and wants to help you needs to be that biggest first step.
Exactly. I mean, we talk a lot in our workshops at the Trust around disclosure, and the fact is that if someone discloses something to you, don't hit them with lots of questions. Let's let them speak, because it's probably the hardest thing they've ever done in their life. You know, they've got to come out with a story that we're now hearing a lot of, which is good because people are now talking out about it. But the less you say, the more people tend to come forward. And that happened with me, with the doctor. He just said, you know, tell me what's going on in your brain. And that was it. You know, he'd obviously got my sickness record and everything, and he there was nothing on it, and he just couldn't work out. And obviously it went, and then he got, I can't remember the gentleman's name. There was a gentleman, I saw him, that was the Monday. They rang me the Monday afternoon. Appointment was Wednesday, and I was admitted Thursday. So they were quite sharp. And I think the gentleman, my partner, came to the meeting at Helston, the first one, and she knew some of it, but she didn't know all of it. And I think that shocked her. And I think the gentleman said it was one of the hardest things he'd ever had to listen to.
And I think obviously you have spoken at large. So obviously you came and spoke at the Canaries Trust AGM.
Yeah.
And you talked about it then, and you've been very open about the fact that you were abused, and it's something that I can't even imagine. So I don't wish to talk about that specifically because I can't. But the effect, you've been very open about the effect it had on you, and I don't think anyone, unless they have been through that, can imagine the scope of what you went through.
It's a difficult one because we're quite lucky that every one of us that wears the ambassador badge in the trust has been abused. So we can talk to each other. We can talk to amongst ourselves. We have very black humor, shall we say? Very, very black humor. You know, we have. But then I recently had a message from someone who's just saying, hi boys, just to let you know everything's okay, but I'm having the nightmares again and that and the other. And I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that, but you know, when someone you think is quite strong suddenly sends you that, it makes you wonder what can be done to make it easier. I would say that again, Barry again, which no one saw at the AGM, but he was in the background. He just says the difference with us is we live it every day, every single day. So some days are great, some days are fantastic. You know, I can wander around. I mean, this week, Thursday, I'm going to Ipswich to speak to the Suffolk Women's Girls League. I'll be fine because I'll put a suit of armour on and I'll be absolutely fine. But I think when I spoke at the Trust, I'd been at the Nest all day and I'd given 2 workshops over a course of about 5-6 hours. And I think by the time that my good friend Robin had made me out to be some sort of saint, sort of ruined me a little bit. But I was a bit disappointed how I spoke, but I think I spoke from the heart.
That absolutely. And obviously the whole point of these videos is to talk about mental well-being and help people out there. And what I can say I was watching it on Zoom because of being in Birmingham, couldn't make it. I think that is an apt phrase that you spoke from the heart. And I think that's all we ever want from people. And if people can do that, then we understand it a lot more and it resonates with us.
I think you can always tell if someone's telling porcupines, shall we say? And we put some statistics out there. The Canaries Trust, I think it's in 2002 when they started registering the statistics, it was 4,000 people a year was speaking out. It's now 29,500 have spoken out, which, without being disrespectful to anyone, I think we at the Trust can take a little bit out of that, because we've shown people it's okay to speak, and to speak on a subject that, when I played, was, oh, just man up, just man up, just man up. Now you're allowed to do the little things, and you're allowed to have the tears, you're allowed to have the insecure thoughts. But as long as you've got some sort of help in the background that will get you through. I mean, I don't think you saw, I think it was Mandy and Lorraine chasing me to sort of grab hold of me, basically. And Neil Adams was great, Zoe Ward was great, but it's still, I think you can tell that now, it's still a very difficult subject, even after so many years.
And I think that so from your point of view, obviously, that there's two things where this comes into play, and I can resonate with one of them. I can't with the other, but both of them are still considered taboo to discuss in a way. It's probably not the right word. They still have a stigma attached to them, whether it be unconscious bias or not. So if we look at the abuse side of things just for 2 seconds, again, not something I can feel from side. I would want people to talk about it, but in society, there's still a bit of, it feels and comes across from some people like there is still a bit of, if you talk about it, they kind of almost shut down because they don't know what to say to you. And it's the same. And where I can resonate is with the mental health side of things. So having attempted suicide, I know that I've spoken to people before, and some people have been absolutely brilliant and said, come on, talk to me. My friends, my wife, the Canaries Trust have been very good with it when I've spoken about it. But there are still some people that kind of not go off you, but shut down and want to step away from you because they don't know how to handle the information you've just given them.
Yeah, fair comment. But I also think you shut down as well, because they're not taking, you are openly speaking about a very difficult subject. And I think some people's mentality around that is right, what you say. But yes, they don't know what to say or what to do, but that it then starts to resonate in their brain. If they got something in the back of their mind that they want to get off their chest or something. So I haven't really had too many issues around that, because people know, well, I mean, I would say sometimes people just don't understand why you are different on one day to another day, without that being the wrong thing to say. But I have a major problem, believe it or not, is when I meet people I don't know, it takes me 10-15 minutes to speak. I'll say hello, then I don't speak for a certain amount of time. I'm weighing them up. I'm making sure, and I think this comes to both sides of the mental health side. I'm not sure that they're going to call me a bad name or something like that, or tell me to man up. I think, but also the fact is, I don't want to get hurt anymore.
Yeah, understandable.
So I've got both aspects that I take. My partner tells me all the time, you need to, and I just say to her, and then we sat down the other week, she came and watched me speak at the Canaries Trust to the girls. And as we walked out of there, she says, I understand a lot more now because you spoke. She said, you spoke so knowledgeably about a subject that you're not trained in. It's a lived experience. And I've just recently taken my safeguarding training with Paul Stewart, who I'm going to meet on the 7th of September. But I think for me, for what you say, that's my feelings, is that one, people don't want to hurt me with bad words. And then the other side is they're unsure how to gauge my moods as such. Saying that, though, I'm normally a happy-go-lucky chap, but
I try to be. I have my moments, but I tend to be okay at hiding them when I'm meeting new people, because sometimes you need to be. You want to be happy in front of people so they get a good first impression, and sometimes it might actually be better just to be yourself. I don't know the kind of. I'd love to be able to give an answer on that, but it's a terrible segue, but it does segue slightly into my second point. My second question is, so we've obviously been through your history in a kind of roundabout way then. How do you deal on a day-to-day basis? So when you wake up in the morning, if you're feeling good, how do you keep that feeling? If you're not feeling great, how do you handle that? Do you try and get out of it, or do you manage it? Kind of what's on a day-to-day basis, how do you look at it? How do you deal with it?
If I get up and I'm feeling good, I'm good. Nothing else is going to stop it. You know, I mean, I'll probably then go and have a swim. I'll probably then go and have a walk. We'll go to the pub for lunch. I'm quite happy that way. If I wake up and I've had a particularly difficult night, hence the nightmares have come back, or I haven't slept brilliantly, which does happen a lot. I don't have a great sleep pattern. I wake up 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And then on that side of it, do you know what? I immerse myself in my work. I just get the laptop out, which is probably the wrong thing to do, but it makes me feel good that, I have a job. I do my job. I'm lucky I only work 21 hours a week, which allows me to do the trust work as well. So I think that on that side of it, that's how I deal with that bit. But on the really crap days, the really, really bad ones, you're going to laugh at this. I have breathing exercises that I use. So I have a way that I know that I'll go for a walk and I'll breathe in a certain way. On that walk, I'll do something called 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the present. So my left foot is always the past. My right foot is always the present. So that was something I was taught at Helsden, was basically, so every time I put my left foot down, I try to think of nothing. It's a nothing day. But when I put my right foot down, it's where do I go next? Oh, gone.
Oh, we briefly lost you. We've lost your video, Alan.
Here. I'm here.
I can only see the background at the moment. Apologies to everyone watching.
Yeah.
Don't know what's happened there.
Right. Don't know what's happened here, David. I don't know.
Not to worry. We've only got a few minutes left anyway, so we'll carry on, because I'm actually enjoying listening to what you're saying, because I think the exit, I didn't want to start, because the exercises I think were that's actually I don't know why you thought I'd laugh. I think that's brilliant. And if anyone's watching, they may pick up on something like that. The idea that just going out for a walk, but actually using very specific parts of that walk to adjust your mental state, I think is fantastic. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's just something that came about. I use it quite a lot. And the other thing I do is I write. But I don't know, it looks like my laptop wants to restart, but it's not going to. So which is always the way. Just got chat up here. So I write things down. I was going to show you, I've got a bit of paper here that I've written some stuff down for today. So yeah, so they're the main three ways that I deal with the crappy days, average days, the very good days. How does that help?
I think that's brilliant, and I suppose that kind of then leads on to my final question: is have you got any advice for anyone listening? And obviously, I've just kind of taken something you've said and suggested people may use it if they feel like it. But from your point of view, have you got any advice?
The biggest advice I can give anyone is it's okay to talk. I didn't talk for many, many years, and it has affected me badly. But since I've started to talk about it and I've started to be a little bit more open and allow people to get close to me, that's the biggest advice. I would say go and see your GP, but you've got about as much chance as chocolate teapot of seeing a GP present. But the majority of the time is talk to someone. Really, 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 really talk to someone. I hope that helps.
And it's certainly what we're an advocate of. And if you look at our Twitter account, it's full of talk to someone. Doesn't matter who. Someone. I mean, obviously, we hope it's someone that will listen, but it can be your GP, it can be a trained professional, it can be your best friend, it can be. I mean, someone suggested previously they talk to their dog and it helps them, and I'm like, that's if it works for you, do it. So
I would say that myself and Barry talk 3 or 4 times a week. We really do, because it's just, I have to think about when we do the workshops, Barry's mental health as well as mine. I'm just trying to see if I can connect here. I'm on my telephone to see if that'll help you. Will that help?
Not sure. Let's try and admit the second Alan Arber is going to be admitted. Oh, yeah, we've got you. So I'm going to kick your other one out if that's okay.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
There we go.
Yeah, how's that? That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got you back now. That's fine. Sorry, everyone, for those technical difficulties. So, as I say, I think you're right in the fact that you told someone my best friend messages me at least once a day. Very rarely do I go a day without hearing from him. He's always checking on me. I'm always checking on him. And you say yourself, you look out for each other. So
I think some of the thing is when we go away and do some of the stuff we do, which can be quite challenging, especially because everyone wants to talk to me. You know, Barry's great putting the stand up and putting everything up and everything, and then someone will run and go and start talking to him about mental health, and he'll go, "You want to talk to the little fat fella over there?" You know, and it's you know, we've had something in the region of 70, 75 of what we call our awareness days in East Anglia. We've had in the region of 50 to 70 people come forward. And we've actually helped, I looked at the stats today, 350 people have contacted me in the last 3 years to ask for advice, help. Well, what would I do in a similar situation? So yeah, we're here. We talk to people, you know, we're not perfect. We never will be. But we live our issues every single day, which everyone with mental health does, you know, and I think it's the more we can put it out in the open, the easier it will get for everyone. And that's just me. That's my own philosophy. I just think that, as I say, anything you can do that makes you happy will help you. But above all, I find walking helps. I find that stupid little exercises with my left foot and my right foot. I write down, I don't just write down the good days, I write down the bad days. So when I have a bad day, I can go back and look and see what made me feel unhappy, you know.
great idea.
So they're the main points that I'd like to say. I hope that they'll help someone. You know, we're here on Twitter as you are on the Canaries Trust, and we can never thank the Canaries Trust enough for the support they give our work. it's quite incredible, really.
On that note, I should have asked this at the beginning. Can you just give a one line on what the Offside Trust do for anyone watching that hasn't heard of them?
We support survivors of abuse. How about that?
Absolutely spot on. And it's one of those things that I hope that anyone watching has never had to experience it. But if you have, Alan will absolutely say that the Offside Trust is there for you.
Yeah, we're there. We're on Twitter. You can find us on. But the best thing to do is just to contact me, especially if you're in East Anglia, because we can sit down, have a coffee. Now I sat down. I don't know how. I don't drink hot drinks because they make me a bit loopy-loo. I tend to drink juice or water. But we will happily meet you. We've met many, many people and sat down and talked to them. It's a difficult subject, but hopefully we're making it a bit easier for people.
I certainly, the way it comes across you are, and it's the same thing we are with mental health. It's never going to go away because it's just one of those things, but we hope we're helping as many people as possible. Alan, thank you so much for doing this. We'll put in after, for anyone watching, there's going to be contact details for Alan and the Offside Trust during the closing credits, so to speak, where we put in all the other stuff. But Alan, as I say, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for talking about everything you've been through, and thank you for the advice you've given. And I do like the steps thing. Like, I know you said I'd laugh, but I genuinely think that that's a good thing, and anything you can do to help, and I'm sure someone will find solace in that. So
whatever you can do that's going to take the bad thoughts away and allow you to put a good thought in place is going to make you a better person, and it's going to make your day a lot easier. That's all I can say. It makes mine. But trust me, everyone, don't think because we're out there doing this all the time that it's easy, because some days it's an absolute nightmare. And we did one last Saturday at Sheringham Fakenham. I had 3 people out of 230 come and ask for advice and help. I worry about that sort of statistic, but the directors tell me that. But hang on, big fella, if you weren't there doing it, where would they go?
Yeah, it's not nice that those 3 people had to go through it, but at least they then had somewhere to go.
Yeah, we can put them in touch with the various organisations depending on the age. We did one recently with Childline. We've done Mind, the Samaritans. I've used them all. So people just remember there's lots of agencies out there to help you, but above all, talk to your closest friends, because the more they understand it, the more they'll be able to help you.
Alan, I couldn't have put it better myself. Everyone watching, obviously you're watching this, so we at the Canaries Trust I'll have a Twitter account. It's at Canaries Trust MH. We try to post every day with basic little bits of advice or signposting. Maybe it helps you, maybe it doesn't. But as Alan said, the biggest thing is if you are suffering or know anyone that is, talking is the first step. It's the biggest step, but it's definitely the first step. So thank you everyone for watching. Alan, once again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, David.
And I hope the Offside Trust goes from strength to strength. It's certainly a wonderful thing that you do. So
there's a lot of us. So we do our best for that. All the best. Cheers, mate.
Until next time, thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.